This is Pure Digital Passion, the podcast of Moses Kamibaro, one of Kenya's and Africa's leading digital marketers, tech bloggers, and technology analysts. Join him for insightful interviews and commentaries on all things digital from across the African continent on a myriad of compelling topics and themes. And here is your host, Moses Kamibaro.
Okay, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. This is Moses Kamibaro on another episode of the Pure Digital Passion podcast. And today we have Dan Kwach, who's joining us, specifically representing African data centers, where he's responsible for the East African region. Karibu sana, Dan Kwach.
Thanks a lot, Moses. I mean, like you rightly introduced us, you introduced myself. Yeah, I'm in charge of our East African business. But of course, as the name goes, we operate over and beyond East African markets. So we've got presence in South Africa, we've got presence in West Africa, in Nigeria. Yes, I am present and leading a team that is managing our business in Eastern Africa. And we've got an even bigger plan to be present in additional nine countries across the African continent. And this is something that we do with passion because we believe that, in as much as everyone is talking about digitization, there needs to be those that are investing on the infrastructure that is going to run that digital ecosystem.
So let's talk a little about the origins of African data centers and maybe more specifically East Africa. If I'm not wrong, you've been in the organization for quite a few years, and more specifically since the days it was Kenya Data Networks, if I'm not wrong. So maybe tell us a little bit about that history. Why did that business come to be, and more importantly, what drove to this transition to where you are today?
Indeed. I think when I look at what we are today, we are that trusted and dependable partner in this very market because we've been at this for over 10 years and in different shapes and forms. Like you rightly mentioned, we started off as a telecommunications company. Back then, that was Kenya Data Networks, fully owned by a local partner or a local shareholder in the name of Samia. But then over time, there's been a number of changes in terms of the shareholding. So the business got sold out to a South African investment arm that was Altec Investment Technologies.
Okay, I remember that, yeah.
After Altec Investment Technologies, then all of a sudden we had Liquid Telecom that came into the Kenyan space and helped stabilize the then operation that we had. But that operation was not just having a network infrastructure in Kenya. We had extended our reach to go over and beyond Kenya. So we had our network extended into Uganda, into Rwanda. So that was then Altextreme East Africa. So that Altextreme East Africa, that is the asset, or that's the business that was then acquired or bought by Liquid Telecom. As we are today, even the name Liquid Telecom is out of the market, and that is courtesy of a number of shifts in the market. So today, we no longer have the Liquid Telecom tag, but we have a Liquid Intelligent Technologies that is owned by Cassava Technologies Group, and we have a data center business that goes by the name Africa Data Centers, again owned by Cassava Technologies. So Africa Data Centers runs with our data center business, and so we have taken mandate of growing the data center business that we have in South Africa, in Kenya, in Nigeria, and in the new markets that we want to venture into, while Liquid Intelligent Technologies runs with our traditional business, but over and beyond that, we also have some other business streams that are all really converged under the Cassava Technologies Group.
So, Dan, one of the things I've noticed, and this is as a result of visiting a data center that I did last week, I will not mention their name, but I was really shocked at the way the modern data center has evolved significantly over the last 20 years. And I'm really keen to understand a little bit more about your business model, what makes your particular data center here in Nairobi or this region unique. And more importantly, what is it that you bring to the table that the market that you serve actually value?
Oh, great. So, like I mentioned before, so we've been in the space for over 10 years. As it is right now, I know it at times sounds odd when one makes their own self-proclamations, but really, our data center business, when we look at our market positions in the various geographies, in Eastern Africa, we take the leading position. And we lead by way of, having grown the business to a point of we own over 30% of the market share.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. In terms of looking at the data center, in terms of its physical space, this is the largest data center facility outside of Southern Africa. So traditionally, we've been saying sub-Saharan Africa. So when I look at the capacity that we have in terms of data center space in Kenya, in terms of its occupancy, it's the largest outside of South Africa. You cannot compare it to any data center facility, be it in Nigeria or be it anywhere else that we operate or that we have other data center operators. But for me, I will say physical size and us being in the space for a long time really has helped us in so many other ways to make sure that we lead by way of having a mix of customers that today we refer to as a digital ecosystem that is unrivaled. You talk of numbers again, you talk of network providers, we've got over 50 network providers in our Nairobi data center site. You talk of cloud service providers, we've got all the, talked about edge cloud services. The deployments that they are having as they increase their footprints across the East African market, that is happening right in our data center space. The enterprise market locally, which is the financial institutions, I think that's how we look at them. But over 50% of banking institutions in Kenya have their data center infrastructure, and that means they have mission critical IT network and storage equipment running from within our data center space in Nairobi. So we have been trusted to make sure that if at all you needed a technology solution that you want to make sure that has the highest levels of availability and needs to be in a secure environment, then trust you me, ADC or East Africa Data Center is your trusted partner in the Kenyan space or in the East African context. You've asked of how we've actually grown over the years. We started off as KDN, we had a small telehouse or a data center space. You see, as a telecommunication service provider, we needed a stable environment to have to use as our network hub. That's how we ventured into the data center space. I was a network engineer from the onset, but over time, I then got additional roles or additional responsibilities added on top of what I was doing, of which some of it included me being in charge of the operations team. And the operations and maintenance team that was set up was in charge of looking at the internal network infrastructure, which included this data center because it then housed our core network equipment. So that is how I ventured into the data center space from a really novice telecommunications or networking engineering perspective. But over time, I think I had to also then make sure that I attained some skills to transition from being that technical guy to being somebody who understands what are those other commercial dimensions that I need to focus on, which means understanding how exactly can we package a data center into a product that meets our customers' requirements.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
How do we make sure that we can then have a sales and marketing team that was then going to help us, sell this product out there in the market? And to date, yes, with a very able team that we've had in our East African operation, we take that leadership position and we don't take it for granted. We are testimony to the much talked about increased demand in the data center space. Additional players have come into the space when we are 10 years celebrating our relationship with our customers. And to me, I always say that's testimony that we are actually selling the right product. But it's also really a very big endorsement that we had a visionary team about 10 years ago who actually saw the need for data center infrastructure environments like what we have.
Now, I have a question for you because I've been, in the digital services space for a long time. And one of the things that you'll notice is that historically, people who, for instance, build websites or applications have historically hosted their solutions outside, in North America, in Europe, and so forth. And I would want to ask you the question, like, if I, as a business, wanted to come and possibly use your setup for this service, what are the reassurances or what are the things that you put in place so that many of these service providers who currently are still skeptical maybe that these things can be done locally, what would you tell them about what you offer and what you can bring to them in terms of giving them that local solution for the same requirements?
We've done something that to date I feel really is copied, and it's something that I think, of course, a lot of other organizations have done, which is to demystify some of these perceptions. Like, you are operating in Eastern Africa, so does it mean that your quality of service is going to differ from an operator that is sitting somewhere in the developed world, in the US or in Europe? How we've been able to demystify this? We've been able to build infrastructure that has been trusted by customers who are coming from these very highly developed markets. So today, as we speak, the hyperscalers or the cloud service providers who traditionally have actually only used data center infrastructure that is in the United States, in Europe, we are today hosting this type of customers in our data center environments. And we are using it to make sure that we can demonstrate to the market that, guess what? You have another trusted pair of hands, but the only unique thing is this trusted pair of hands is now next door to you. You must not really be thinking, if at all you are a CIO to a banking institution and you needed to maybe make use of secure hosting services, you must not then worry and ask yourself really that there is no third party you can trust, if at all not your own in-house solution.
Yes.
Because we've demonstrated that you can actually have a third party like ourselves that can offer you the same kind of, or the same quality of service. Now, these qualities of service really, at times I say we need to qualify them, and how we qualify that is to make sure that we are demonstrating having met certain industry standards, certain industry
criteria,
accreditations and criteria. And we've done that as Africa Data Centers because anywhere we design, anywhere where we operate, we design, build and operate our data centers to those highest levels of standards. So we work with organizations like Uptime Institute to make sure that we can, at least suppress the doubts or the worries that a customer would have in terms of quality or in terms of availability and reliability of data center environments. We work with the International Standards Organization to make sure that ISO 27001, which is an information systems management standard, is something that we live by to the letter. So we can demonstrate to these customers that really, if you wanted to make sure that you can demonstrate to a third party, because remember, you are a financial institution and you probably, must demonstrate to CBK, or which is a financial regulator, that of course you're offering digital services in a secure way or from a secure environment, and it is from a third-party environment. How then do we demonstrate? How do we help you make sure that, you can demonstrate to this kind of party that, of course, you're doing the right thing? Health and safety is something that we don't take for granted. Sustainability really is something that for us is not an afterthought, but really we consider sustainability at the onset of us designing a data center, so that we look at how efficient that data center environment is going to be. So that approach of making sure that we aren't talking of an East African standard, which is so much driven by our own perceptions, we've made sure that we are resolving that, and in a way that can give our customers trust, because we are demonstrating that, number one, global players that are used to even higher levels of standards have
come to you. Yeah.
But we've gone over and beyond to make sure that there's a third party that can actually come and look at our facilities and can look at our services and give us that, thumb of approval that, guess what, Africa Data Centers is doing something right. And I can be that trusted party because I have no interest other than putting them on toes to make sure that they're delivering on their customer promise.
Fantastic. Yeah. So there's another word or phrase that I hear, being brandished a lot at this event, and I think they call it carrier neutral for data centers or DCs as they're called.
Yeah.
And I know that maybe you're in a slightly tricky situation from that point of view, but maybe you can explain for our audience and our listeners about the issue of carrier neutrality where you guys are concerned.
Carrier neutrality is a very important thing because it informs the business models that data centers operate by. And carrier neutrality just means you as a data center operator, your bread and butter is in hosting the computing equipment, storing equipment, or the processing equipment. So if that is your bread and butter, then who exactly is going to make sure that the customer can consume those services remotely by way of using a network provider? Then the next question is, as a data center operator, do you want to sort of have a bias, or do you want to sort of have some sort of influence as to which network operator can then be trusted by users outside of the data center environment to use the connectivity that you've set in place?
Yes.
The principle is this: you need not have a bias as a data center operator, and that's where carrier neutrality comes in. Like I mentioned to you, you talk about us in Nairobi or in East Africa, we've got 55 network providers. You go to peering DB, you'll actually be able to see which are these network providers that you have. We host multiple peering players. So the local internet exchange point, that's KXP, hosted in our space.
Okay.
We've onboarded.
So you're connected to everyone, basically.
Yes, we've connected to everybody, and we've given a level playground. So we are neutral on the carrier side. We are neutral on a peering side. We're even neutral on a cloud side. Anyone who's enjoying maybe a Microsoft Azure service, anyone who wants to make use of any kind of cloud solution, including local cloud players, the likes of Angani, they make use of our space. And we've made it open that each of them can actually make use of what we call our marketplace, which is really a marketing platform that we've enabled. We've made use of so that our customers can announce their presence in any of our facilities, but even go over and beyond that by demonstrating what kind of products and services do they offer. And it will also make them learn from one another. It could be that I'm a banking institution, but I need a cybersecurity solution. So the marketplace actually makes you know that, okay, you've got another player that is actually a cross-connect away that you can consume this service from.
And the fact is because they all sit within the same space.
They all sit within the same space, which is this multi-tenant environment. So really, being carrier neutral is something that I advocate for in the market. And I advocate for it very strongly. At times, to a point, people can misjudge me owing to maybe the relations that we have, courtesy of our history, and the fact that now we have Liquid Intelligent Technologies, which was our telecommunications business.
Yes.
And us as Africa Data Centers, of course, all reporting under or all under the umbrella of Cassava Technologies. At no point do we push or influence our customers or have a bias as to which connectivity provider they should work with. And this is something we are doing intentionally from the onset because we feel it is the right thing to do. Leave it open. It's an open market. Let's make sure that we can have these telecommunication service providers and telecommunication technology service providers. Let them thrive using their own strategies within our data centers.
Dan, thank you so much. It looks like we're out of time. And I'm looking forward to coming and doing a tour of your data center soon so that I can really see what it is that you're doing there. And more importantly, that's giving the companies and organizations you work with the confidence to entrust their infrastructure with you across the cloud and also the servers and everything that you offer. So asante sana for being on the podcast. We appreciate it. And I hope you enjoy the rest of the ITW Africa event. And we hope to catch you in the next one.
Not a problem. Thanks a lot as well. Continue with the evangelism so that people can know the good stuff that we're doing in Africa.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us. And that was Dan. And we hope to see you in the next edition.